Ready. I am. 15 April, hump day, middle of the week. We'll get through it, I promise. Today we're reintroducing the Tabata. So we introduced that on day one of this whole quarantine debacle, which was over 4 weeks ago now. A Tabata is 20 seconds of work followed by 10 seconds of rest for 8 total rounds. What we're looking for is to perform consistent work across that 20 seconds of work. So the pull-ups, for example, I'd rather have you perform 10 pull-ups every 20-second interval for all 8 sets than perform 20 pull-ups in the first round for those 20 seconds and 1 pull-up in your final round on that 8th round. All right, so try to be consistent. Obviously, those that are more familiar with this will be able to kind of target what that number is and make it challenging but still achievable across every round, whereas those that are a little newer to this may just be not have that luck necessarily, and they may push themselves a little too hard to start, but that's fine. At the end of the day, you're getting a great workout. Sound about right? I like it. So, 20 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest. The sequence of this will be to perform 20 seconds of pull-ups, followed by 10 seconds of rest. Then 20 seconds of tuck-ups, followed by 10 seconds of rest. And then 20 seconds of push-ups, followed by 10 seconds of rest. And lastly, 20 seconds of squats, followed by 10 seconds of rest. That is 1 round. You'll then perform 8 more rounds of that, all right, for a total of 8. Now we're gonna go through what all the movements look like, and then we'll provide some scaling options at the end. All right, so our first Tabata movement is going to be the pull-up. We're not gonna demo that here, but what we will demo is the alternate movement. Not a scale, just an alternate movement for those that don't have pull-ups, pull-up bars in the house. So I would recommend doing this with 1 dumbbell or kettlebell, depending on the weight. If you have really light weights at home, then let's use 2 to make it a little more challenging. But this is what the bent over row will look like. Let's do 2 reps. Relax. You can put it down. What we're looking for, the athlete's going to bend the knees, shift the hips back and the shoulders forward, and they're going to bring this chest all the way down, keeping the back nice and flat. The stopping point for this will be where the back starts to round. When we hit that position, back it up a little bit so that we have a nice flat back. And the limit's going to be the tension in the hamstring, all right? Our flexibility in the hamstring is going to determine how far we can come or how vertical we can be. From here, the athlete's going to keep the shoulder blades pulled back the entire time, and then they're going to drive their elbow up to around middle of the sternum. So females, around where your bra strap is where we're looking for that dumbbell to be, or that sports bra, I should say, not the bra strap. And then extend that elbow back down, all right, keeping a nice flat back. If you're using 1 dumbbell, you can relax. Alternate every round, all right? So that first 20 seconds, just use your left. That next round, use just your right. You'll have 4 rounds on each arm. If you're using 2 dumbbells, the principle's still the same, but we'll just be pulling 2 at the same time. We'll do that for all 8 rounds, all right? Next, we have the tuck-up. In the tuck-up position, we're looking to stay in what's called a hollow position throughout the duration of the movement. This is what the tuck-up looks like. Just bringing the knees and chest together. All right, so if Lisa comes down into her hollow position, what I'm referring to here in the bottom part of the tuck-up, the upper shoulder blades are off the ground and the feet are off the ground, all right? From here, she merely pulls herself together, lifting the chest and pulling the feet together. I'll talk about the scale for this now. One scale we can do is when we come down into that bottom position, is to allow the feet and back to touch the ground completely. All right, that gives us half a second of rest before we come right back together. All right. The other scaling option is going to be what we call a dragonfly or a flag pull. What we're going to look for here is the athlete to lie flat on the ground, hands to the side, maybe about 45 degrees out to create some stability, feet together, and then the athlete is simply going to drive the legs up, keeping the knees extended and trying to then lift their hips off the ground. Look at her hips coming off the ground and slightly back, okay? Let's try to do this in a controlled manner, and we can use those hands to press into the ground to create some stability in that movement. Let's watch 2 more. Pressing through the ground, 1. Feet come back, touch the ground, 2, all right? And see how high you can get those hips off the ground. The next we have is the push-up. We've talked about the push-up quite a bit. For those that did yesterday's with a body weight movement, rather than the presses, we did push-ups. So I'll have a scale for you in just a second. So the push-up, hands shoulder width, fingers splayed, shoulder and hips in line with each other throughout the movement. All right, so we have a nice flat back as the athlete bends the elbows, chest touches the ground, and then we extend the elbows all the way up, which the body moves in one straight line throughout. Scales for this, we can drop the knees and perform knee push-ups. Right? We can go back up to a plank. This will be a little more challenging. Go down in a plank position and then drop the knees to press out. Or as we discussed yesterday, we can use the box or a sofa or a table, some raised object where your athletes being able to stay in this straight position, and they can bend the elbows until the chest touches the object and press out. For those that did push-ups yesterday, based on the fact that that was the body weight movement, what I want you to do instead of the push-ups is 20 seconds of up-downs. And that's going to look like this. Beautiful, all right? Just keeping those locked elbows, just moving rapidly. And finally, we have the squat. Widen your stance a little bit and turn and face the camera. Well, all we're looking for here is relax. Is that the athlete sends the hips back and down, tries to maintain a nice upright chest, and then we're just looking to get as deep as possible. Ideally, when the athlete sits down, the crease of the hip is below the top of the knees, and the athlete's pushing their knees out to stay in line with the toes. Why don't you relax those knees and let those knees cave in? Just your knees. Sit up, sit up. You see how these knees, how they press in? I want you to think about having a rubber band around your knees and creating tension to push your knees out, all right? That's going to create a safer position for the knee, as well as engage the hamstrings and glutes to a greater extent. So as you squat, think about driving those knees out, 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 keeping that chest nice and tall. It helps to lift the hands a little bit as well, all right? 20 seconds of squats. Alternatively, if you have a box or a sofa, and we're not as familiar with the squat, we could always squat down to the box. And I want you to step out away from the box just a slight bit so that you're forced to have to send the hips back. That action is almost as if you were taking the groceries out of the car and you had to close the car door with your butt. All right, that's the line of action I want you to think about in the squats. And then find that weight in the heel. I think that will do it. We went over the scales a little earlier than I thought, so I think that sums it up. 20 seconds of work followed by 10 seconds of rest. 1 round is all 4 movements, and then you go right back to it.